Okay, so still on assignment 1, and now we're going to actually address the design exercise where you design a brief and a mood board. So we're on, it's this link down here. I'm going to go ahead and click on that and close out this one. Okay, so the lessons, the exercises rather, are down here. So we're going to click on design, brief, and mood board. And this is the first design exercise. These activities will help reinforce what we're learning in each lesson, or they can be completed on their own. So creating a design brief. One of the first steps to designing is determining what problems we want to you intend to solve and for who. Starting with a design brief document helps you get these intentions on paper. So it kind of goes back to pen to paper when you're thinking your ideas out. You don't have to know if you're creating a product that will become a web page or an app or whatever. Just helpful to have an idea in mind. Before starting to visual design, it's helpful to write, or at least answer a few clarifying questions. Who your audience is, what their problems are, how we're going to describe the solution, and so on. So include your intended audience and their needs in their proposed solution, links to any research that you've done or intend to do, and any text that you think will be in your app or your web page. Once you're done writing, hold on to this, and you may want to use it for a future design exercise. Don't allow this writing process to be a barrier, but dedicate time to trying to write. Once you hit a wall, stop and designate a time to come back. Sometimes you just need to walk away. Like what I did earlier is I did dishes because I just needed to walk away because I was just getting frustrated with internet. And I just need it. Don't be afraid to walk away. What is a design brief? A design brief is a document used to outline the key elements and deliverables for creative work. It's a helpful document to reference through the design process and helps to focus and clarify the project as it evolves. The design brief, it contains a problem statement that should be resolved by the completed design, the audience that you're targeting with your product, the constraints, the limitations to work around and with, format of the final design or designs, and all of that stuff. Often a brief comes from a client or stakeholder with your company. So in this activity, we're going to be creating a design brief for yourself that could inform the design work you do in future exercises. Below is an example design brief for you to look at, and a second design brief for you to fill in. So this mood board. A mood board is a collection of sample imagery, colors, and other products to help express the desired aesthetic of a planned project. Mood boards can be helpful in conveying the visual ideas using from other visual elements. Often the elements complement each other in some way. Using the large blank frame in the Figma file to collect some images or other visual concepts that you would like to use to influence the work might solve the problems. So getting feedback. Finish the exercise and looking for a little feedback. There are other resources where you can have your design work critiqued. And just to do a networking plug, this may be if you like design, if this is something that you feel like you have a passion for and you want to pursue as one of your focal points in your career, you having it critiqued on these particular websites and other communities may help with your networking. And, once you graduate, can help with finding a job. It's helpful to tell a story when submitting a design work for critique. If you submit an image or a Figma file to community for review, we may see the context around the work, so they might not see what the purpose of it is. So tell your audience what you're showing them, who it's for, what the constraints are, and so on and so forth. Anything would be helpful in providing context for them to have an understanding of what it is. Let's see. So look, here's a good example. So here's a landing page of a marketing website I created for Blueberry Farm. Okay. And it's targeted at bodega owners, so there's a niche market there. And so there's particular stylings that I'm sure that they want to make sure that they're aware of, and the fact that it's in New York City. The client needed a desktop and a mobile version of the website. You will want to request specifically what you want feedback on. It says you're looking for feedback on spacing, type size, readability, background color, and would love any references. Part of design is exposing yourself to criticism and failure on a daily basis. So that's going to help us improve, but don't take it personally. Criticism should be constructive, and that ensures that the person is trying to help you improve as a designer. Giving feedback. So if somebody's coming to you for feedback, that's not a good example of saying, I don't like orange. Whenever I was doing the guest judging for the drones competition a couple months ago, and I had to be aware of the fact, like some of their poster boards, they use colors I'm just not a fan of. For whatever reason, I'm just not a fan of certain colors. Like certain colors capture my attention, where others, like, I don't like it. And that's not fair to the participants in there. So I have to be aware of the fact. It's like, what is it that I don't like? Do I just don't like the colors? That's not something that I need to grade harshly on, just because that's my personal think. I'm not being objective, I'm being subjective. I need to be objective, and is the design and everything else good? I'm just not a fan of the color. If I'm just not a fan of the color, that's a personal thing, and then I just need to, be aware that that's not good feedback. I can't put on my judging things, say I don't like orange, pick another color. That's not good feedback. So it's kind of off topic, but that's basically, what's good feedback and what's not. A designer is looking for feedback that is actionable and that they can use to improve their work. Tell the designer if something isn't clear and present it to them as a problem, not your solution to it. For example, I have a hard time reading that text, instead of please make the text bigger. Tell them what your problem is, because that's what they're looking for. They're not looking for you to tell them what to do. Okay. The designer may have a better solution to the problem, as they have spent more time with the design. The text may need higher contrast from the background instead of a size. So just focus on what you have a problem with and let them figure out the solutions. Don't do this. Let them figure it out. It's helpful to develop a further understanding of the work and context too. Ask clarifying questions to help understand the designer's goals and both the work and the feedback they're hoping to receive, and draw it out more. So during a critique, it's important to remember that the designer or designers are likely looking for different kind of feedback. So that's pretty much the gist of that. And what we're going to be doing ultimately, hold on, let me pause it. Okay, I'm back. So there wasn't necessarily an assignment built in here, but what we're going to do is start working on what our Hawking College bookstore. So someone had mentioned, like, this might be a good project for us. This is the Hawking College bookstore webpage. As you can see, it doesn't really jive with the rest of Hawking College's website. That's the bookstore website. And the styling is not the same. Between the navigation areas, it's blue, this is white. It's got the headings and the navigations aren't even the same. The colors are not the same. The hovering's not the same. The logo's not the same. That's blue font. This is white font. Yeah, so whenever they updated stuff, evidently for whatever reason, this keeps missing that update. I have no idea why. But that's not That's not my focus. But what that does leave us to is the fact this might be a good project for us to work on. Like, why is clothing in all caps and everything else is, regular case? Yeah, there's room for improvement, to say the least. And especially with the bookstore no longer really selling books, it's more of a spirit store. So seems like a prime time to just make this a project for us to work on. So this is going to be a project ultimately. So to go back into the design brief and mood board, let's go into mood board. It's a collection of sample imagery, colors, and other products to help express the desired aesthetics of our planned project. So mood boards can help in conveying visual ideas using other visual elements. So let's go ahead and if you don't have a Figma account yet, go ahead and create one. Like I said, it's free and you can collaborate with, I think up to 3 or 4 other people. If you want to make this a collaborative project, I have no problems with that. You just got to give me a heads up and then letting me know what each person is doing. So I clicked on that earlier. It says 5 months ago. Maybe I did do it 5 months ago. I don't remember. So Figma. So I already have an account. If you don't have an account, create an account. It's been a while since I've been on here. I'm trying to remember what I need to do. Figma.com. Okay, get a recent. Okay, so this is where I'm going to start with because I know where I'm at more or less. There's some past stuff that I've been working on or just playing with, or I did for previous classes, some reason or another. But anyways, so once you create an account, somewhere you'll be able to create a new file. So we're going to click on new file. For that was in the top right corner if you didn't see it. Okay, so first things first, we're going to, let's go ahead and back here. It says a mood board is a collection of sample imagery, colors, and other products to help express the desired aesthetic of a planned project. Mood boards can be helpful in conveying visual ideas using other visual elements. Often the elements complement each other in some way, such as color or style. So we're going to use a large blank frame in this Figma file to collect some images or other visual concepts that you would like to use to influence the work that might solve your problems. So if we click on this link down in the lower left-hand corner, design brief board, let's go ahead and click on that. Okay, so we can see this mood board. And okay, well, we'll just leave it at that then. Trying to just want to leave that alone for right now. Go ahead and create a frame. So on the top left-hand corner, what's that? Oh, that's, and I'm evidently mistaken. Oh, okay. So click on, looks like a tic-tac. And I think you can just draw, like you see it's got the plus symbol. I think you can just draw the frame. There we go. And so think of this as like a big whiteboard. Maybe that might be a good example comparison. And what we're going to be looking at for we want this page to be, look like that it's part of this particular website instead of being some own, thing right there. So some things that we can go ahead and do is capture some of the content that we're going to need. So in this example that they have for their mood board, okay, let's go ahead and start like the problem. Not that one. We'll get rid of that. We want to do another frame. Okay, and then I'm going to click text. I want to do a text box, and then the problem. So let's talk about the problem. The problem is that bookstore web page does not look like it's part of Hocking College's website. Okay, that's the problem. So what's next that we're going to look at? The audience. So this is our design brief, so let's put a heading on that. So we can, this is pretty intuitive usually on how to change it and update it. Yeah, it's probably not going to be too much of a learning curve on that, just once you just get used to what's what. So this is our design brief. Okay. And you can actually hit Control C and Control V, and it'll copy it. You know, if that's something that might help. And let's go ahead and what's next? Audience. So who's our audience on this? Audience. Hocking College students, parents, and alumni. Okay, and employees. That should be good enough. What else? So our constraints. So what can't you do? Constraints can be size, format, timeline, colors, text, length, and more. I'm going to hit Control Z, Control V, and it copies it. What are our constraints? I can't think of any right now. I'm sure there is. How about this? Okay. Not able to, actually, I'm not going to put anything for constraints because I can't think of any. I'm sure there is. I'm just not thinking of it. But we're not going to rack our brain right now on that. The deliverables of the format that will reach your audience the best. So Control V, Control C, Control V, copy and paste. And I lost it. Control C, Control V, copy and paste. Why is it doing that? It's here. There we go. What was the question? Deliverables. So what are our deliverables? So an updated website that looks like it's part of Hocking College's website. Updated web page. Let's see, what else? Timeline. You can see as I copy and paste that it starts adding to the left-hand side, and you see you have 3 constraints. So I'm trying to pull up my extra constraint there. Okay. Timeline. The timeline that by the end of the semester, we'll just leave it at that. Spring 2020. Research. If this is a redesign, what was learned from previous versions, and this is a redesign, what other products or companies are we trying to solve this problem? Are you going to talk to existing and potential customers? We're not going to do the talking with potential customers or anything like that right now. We may or may not get to that. It depends on how this flows, and social distancing and all that stuff. But anyways, so I forgot what this was. Research. Okay, so what research the current Hawking College website and make the web page look like it's part of it. That means gathering digital assets and some, let's see, and styling, like look at their styling stuff. What am I looking for? Like their styling fonts, color codes, etc. I can't think of the word that I'm looking for, but things of that nature. Proprietary, maybe that's the word I'm looking for. So, and I can get that. We can go online and look that, and I can get it most likely. So I'm not going to even consider that a constraint. It's just research. So this is our design brief. So all this is a bunch of text, as you can see. And so let's go ahead and rename our frame. I think we can click right there. Yeah, double click there. Design brief. And it's renamed design brief. And I'm not going to rename frame 1 right now. Okay, so let's see what else they have. So there's, I don't know what I did. Okay, it talks about, design briefs and mood boards and so on and forth. It's not what I wanted to do either. I want to go to the side. Let's refresh this, see if I can get back to what it was at. Okay, this is where I was at. So we have our design brief, and they have on the left-hand side, they have an example design brief. So like an example that they have for constraints, the design solution must be a web page and use only the colors blacks, white, orange, and purple. So that could be a constraint. I didn't think of it that way. I was thinking of barriers, not necessarily constraints. So let's go ahead and get back to our constraints. Design must use approved Hawking College logos and colors. So we'll just leave it at that. So that's our design brief. And let's see. So our collection for part of our mood board is a collection of sample imagery, colors, and other products to help express the desired aesthetic. So let us go to, I did it again. It's not what I wanted to do. So they don't really have anything here, but let's go ahead and place one and build something. Okay, so what we can do is we're on the Hawking College's website, the one that we want to model off of. So what we can do is right click. Well, let me think. Right click. Let's see if this works. I don't know. And on the Hawking College logo, hit copy image and go to our Figma and hit Control V to paste, and it works. Okay. I was not certain if that would work. So and it kind of messed it up. It didn't work like I thought it was going to. Because that's cropping it. That's not what I want it to do. prototype, code, design. I think I can change it here on the right-hand side. So if I'm clicking on the logo and on the right-hand side, if I change the width manually, okay, there it's changing the width, the size of it without cropping it. So just to kind of, I'm gonna hit Control Z to undo what I just did. So what I was doing was I was cropping it, which is not what I want it to do. Hit Control Z again. But whenever on the right hand side, when I have image selected, you can see like the different characteristics and the data it's available about this image. And if I change the width to something like 200, just to give me more space on my whiteboard here, it changes it without cropping it. So what else do we need to know about Hawking College's layout here? So the logo's big, a big thing. And then we also need to know the colors. Now, say you have a website and you're trying to build a website and your client may not know that much information about their current website. And that does happen. They may give you, it's like, hey, this is our current website. I don't know anything about it. Update it for me. And they say that they want to keep the colors and stuff, but they just don't know. They don't know what the colors are, short of that's green. They don't know what the hex code is for green. They just know it's green. And there's plenty of greens and blues and yellows out there. So there's a few ways that you can do, you can kind of figure this out. One way that is to do Control Shift I, which will take you to your console. And what we're going to look at is actually the elements. So click on the Elements tab and go to a space like green, blue, and yellow are the Hawking College colors. But we need to get the hex code so we know exactly what kind of green, what kind of blue, and what kind of yellow. So go to a spot where it's green. Let's go ahead and start with green. And we see green right here in the background. Right click on it and hit Inspect. And it should hopefully take you on this right-hand side in your DevTools where you're at. And hopefully, and it does right there. It's not always this easy to find, but this one was pretty easy. And I can't make this bigger, but you can see under Figure on the right-hand side under Styles, and you see where background is, and you see a hex code. You see the little green box for that color, and you can double click on it, and that is your hex code, or that is your hex code. You don't need to double click on it. But we're going to go ahead and copy that, because that is the hex code that we want. And we're going to go ahead and let's do a text, because we're just going to put some stuff in there. So green hex code. I'm just going to paste that in there so we know what our green hex code is. And hex code is probably the most specific way to get us a certain color. So green's done. Now let's find yellow. So we got this yellow here, dot yellow button. That's not what I wanted to do. Right click on it, inspect. Let's see, or it's orange. I consider it yellow, but this one's pretty easy to find as well. So we'll go ahead and copy that. And for the orange hex code, okay, and blue. Now the blue one in my past has always been the hardest one for me to find. Now this has opacity to it, but there's blue on it, and just see if I can find what I'm looking for. No blue. Okay. Let's click on down here on the bottom. No blue. Okay. So now we're going to switch to another tool. I'm sure it's somewhere in here. It's just somewhere I'm not seeing it. So I'm gonna see. Give me a second here. Okay, I'm back. I was thinking that Figma had a color picker, um, but I don't see it, so evidently I was wrong. But what you can do, you can go to your Chrome store and get an extension. That's what I did. The one I'm using is Color Pick Eyedropper, so I just need to go search for it. I did Color Picker Chrome extension. It's exactly what I searched for. And that was one of the first ones that came up. If you have another one you like or prefer, that's fine. It doesn't really matter. But this can become in handy whenever you're trying to find out exactly what the colors are. So I'm going to go ahead and close this tab out. And what it does, like all other extensions, and I probably got more on here that I still need. Go ahead and close this out. When you go to the web page that you're trying to figure out what the color scheme is, you can click on the color picker and hover over the area that you're wanting. So there's my hex code. That's what I'm looking for, the 0084CD, C9. I'm going to copy that and go back to Figma. There it is. And want to do blue hex code is, and I just saw misspelled hex code up here. Okay. So I can't really think of anything else that we need from the Hawking College webpage right now. I think that pretty much should do it. Now, how do I turn that sucker off? Let's go ahead and point as a reference. Let's do this. Styling to be based off of that particular website. Excuse me, sorry. Okay, I'm back. So this is kind of what I envisioned for your mood board assignment as part of here. If you don't have a particular project in mind, you can use this Hawking College bookstore one. If you have something in your mind that you're really wanting this to be your focus for a project because it's a project you're doing as a freelance or a personal project, you know, your wife's baking business, for a place you work at, for your sister's makeup business, just kind of naming off things that people have talked to me about, you know, do it. Make that the focal point, you know. But if you don't have a focal point right now, just, you know, go ahead and use the Hawking College bookstore. That's because that's going to be kind of a focal point for us to improve the Hawking College bookstore here. So the way you submit your assignment, first I'll title it. Assignment number 1, design brief and mood board. Okay. You can say in drafts, I don't care about that, but I want you to share it with me. This is how I want you to share it. I was gonna say, where'd it go? I hit a button. There we go. Good enough. Leave it alone. But the way I want you to share it with me, I want you to share it with me to submit it. So you share, and then you can find whoever. I am going to, let's see if I can share with myself, or how do I want to do this? Let's do my old Hotmail email and see what happens. Okay. So what you should see to know that it worked, I believe. Should see something else pop here. Go ahead and refresh. Maybe it only pops up if I'm on that. It might be it, just kind of like it is on Google Drive. But anyways, basically, I want you to share it with me. As you just saw, you can do it with the link, or probably the easiest way is just to type in my email, pinwellT31810 @Hawking. So just do it that way. But that's how I want you to submit your assignments, and this is what the expectation is for assignment number 1 on the design exercise. Again, you can use the Hawking College bookstore if you don't have anything else in mind. But if you got something else you have in mind that you want to work on, go for it. Okay, so that's it for this particular assignment, and then we'll make another video for assignment number 2.